This is Season 2, Episode 13 of the TO SportsTalk Podcast. I'm your host, James Price, along with Evan Brown. An early afternoon deal between the Toronto Blue Jays and the San Francisco Giants, sending Kevin Pillar to the Bay Area. And the Blue Jays, in return, get right-handed reliever Derek Law, infielder Alan Hansen, and minor league young prospect pitcher Juan De Paula.
So the rebuild's on for the Jays, obviously, and I was expecting this deal to get done trade deadline. It's weird. He played 2 or 3 games. He played a full series with the Jays.
Pillar. He played probably like 3 or 4 games.
A little unexpected for the time frame, but we were expecting him to get traded. I'm just surprised when he did get traded. And, I mean, it's a full-out rebuild for the Toronto Blue Jays. What else can we say? I mean, this is a veteran dude who's been here for, close to 6 years.
6-7 years.
6-7 years. He's only known the Jays. Came out of nowhere, to be honest with you. Spent, 2 or 3 seasons. He was okay, and then he really started to gain his ground 2014-15?
Yeah, something like
that. Great guy. Hopefully he succeeds in the Bay, like you said, for the Giants.
And actually, the Jays see him in the middle of late April. Giants come to Rogers Center, so he's going to get a very, very big
warm welcome.
Yes, absolutely.
I can't see any boos.
No, God, no. He did nothing but good things for this organization.
So I hate rating trades because we don't know what these 3 prospects are like.
Well, they're not 3 prospects. Really. One's a prospect. Another one's a reliever who's already 28 years old.
And plus, only time will tell if this trade is a win for the Jays or a loss for the Jays.
Now, I don't know if Kevin Pillar is not arbitration eligible anymore. He might be hitting free agency at the end of the season, so that's maybe another reason of why this trade happened. I could be wrong, but with the move being made, and I mean it's hard. It really is. But the guys like Juan De Paula, he's a guy that I'm going to keep an eye on here because he's only 22 years old, right? And he played in A-ball last year. But look at those numbers. I mean, nothing is above 3. Except for back in 2016.
We're talking about a throw-in guy here. Wasn't really...
No, he's probably the main piece of the trade.
Oh, you think? Yeah, okay.
Alan Hansen's a guy who's 25 years old, an infielder. I mean, I don't really know what we're going to get from him. He's a consistent 250 hitter, which is great. Derek Law is a guy who's going to be up and down from the minor leagues in the bullpen, so you're not going to get a whole lot ahead of him. That's why I think this guy was the big part of the deal. You look at those ERAs last year. I mean, my God, 1.17 in 10 games. He's been a great pitcher down in the minor leagues. Now, with the Jays, he'll be starting the year with the Dunedin Blue Jays in the high A. It would not surprise me by season's end if he's in Double A New Hampshire, and if things go well there, he could even be in Triple A. Now, I'm not saying they're going to rush him that fast, but...
Who knows? Because this team needs pitching. This team needs hitting.
You can never have too much hitting. You can never have too much hitting.
And pitching, because we've seen time in and time out, Blue Jays pitchers always get injured or always on the DL or something happens.
Yep.
Well, in that other game, look what happened. Who was on the DL that didn't even play a game for the Jays yet?
Clayton Richard. He was supposed to start, and he didn't. He was injured, so that was it.
I don't know if it's some sort of curse for the Blue Jays, but it doesn't seem like... Well, like you said, you can't have too many pitchers or hitters.
Because you look at before the even season starts, you Ryan Brucky getting hurt, Clayton Richard getting hurt, Axford and Tapera start the year in the DL. I mean, it's crazy. 4 guys who started the year with your team in spring training that don't play for your team to start the year because of injuries. 4 guys. It's crazy.
So are you happy with the trade? Because I know you just made a video about it last night.
I think for right now, I don't know how to feel about it. Right. I mean, Kevin Pillar, look, you got to remember what Kevin Pillar is. He's a guy who's going to give you amazing defense on a day. The thing about him, and he reminds me, he's basically like a Mr. Consistent. Yeah. He's like Patrick Marleau, always a 20-goal scorer in the national. Well, I mean, maybe not this year, but yeah. Except Kevin Pillar's defense is really flashy, but what I mean is he's always going to hit you about 250. He's going to hit you 10 to 15 home runs, and he's going to give you good defense, and that's something that a bottom of the lineup, 7, 8, 9 guy in the lineup is going to be, and he's a great player, and he's going to be greatly missed here. But I understand the move being made.
Yeah, I do too, because let's just say that he would walk because he's a free agent this coming. In 2020.
I'm going to check it out. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is.
Let's just say that he is, and then you watch. You know how many Jays fans are going to be like, why didn't we get anything from this guy trade deadline or before the trade deadline, right? So I'm not surprised the move was made. When it was made, a little bit. Yeah. A little bit.
And I think the thing that hurts Jays fans more than anything is watching Kevin Pillar's interview. I mean, I don't know if you saw it.
Emotional guy. Well... That's the team he always knew.
Okay, so he's arbitration eligible this year, at the end of this year.
When's he free agent?
But it's after then is when he
So he has another year after this year.
Right.
Right. So he pretty much has 2 more years. But
that's probably why you got that young pitcher, is because he had another year left.
Right. So he's going to start in, did you say AAA or AA? Dunedin, right?
Yeah, he'll probably be down in like below AA. Like he's a younger guy. Again, if he pitches well to start the year, it wouldn't surprise me if he.
Or if injuries keep piling up for the Jays. Who knows?
Okay,
you could see.
I doubt it.
We'll maybe throw him out there for a game or two. I mean, because we've both seen that the Blue Jays have some sort of curse when it comes to pitchers being injured all the time. So
yeah,
only time
I
will
don't see a
tell.
guy like him making it this year. I mean, I see if he has a good season this year and jumps to AA and
don't rush
does
him.
well there,
Right, yeah.
then maybe next year you look at him as a possible rotation guy. I don't know.
Right.
It's going to be really interesting to see what he does, but. And another thing, Justin Smoke. Apparently, we learned this year, actually, really, that Justin Smoke and Kevin Pillar are like best buddies. And that's probably.
Well, when you're spending a lot amount of time with each other.
Right, but to the extent of this trade goes made, Smokey has an interview and he starts crying. I mean, that's how big of a deal this is to both of them.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you got to think of it this way, right? Both guys had kids together, right? Their wives. They might have even gotten married.
Roughly
while they were
the
on
same age.
team.
Roughly the same age.
Yeah, about the same age. I think about maybe like a year difference or something,
Roughly.
but nothing crazy. But watching Justin Smoke get emotional, watch Kevin Pillar get emotional, it just makes it that much harder.
Oh, it does. But they have to realize, and they know this, that it's a business.
Oh, yeah.
And Smokey's probably on his way out, too.
It wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't.
It wouldn't. And listen, we know what the Jays are going to be like this year. Yep. We know what they're doing, Trevor and Atkins are doing, so I wouldn't be opposed of trading him either now or sooner or later. And you just showed me a picture of Kevin Pillar in a Giants uniform, and it's a bit sad. It is sad. Like, it doesn't look right, but listen, we have to move on from the glory days, like the Jose Bautista days, the Josh Donaldson, Troy Tulowitzki days. And now we're transitioning into something great. And I think that next year is going to be a whole lot better than this year.
This year is going to be rough, and we've talked about it before. You and I have talked about it, about there's going to be losses, and they've lost 3 straight now. They're 2-4 on the year, and they're the first getting swept by the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, so let's talk about the games, because we haven't even talked about a Blue Jays game yet this podcast. We were at home, obviously, for the season opener, a home opener. We split the series against the Tigers.
And the good thing I look at that series is that the only 2 losses you had in that series were in extra innings.
Right.
So you were able to fight. However, a 2-0 loss in game 1, you only had 2 hits in the entire game. And you're not going to win many games doing that.
Against a team like the Tigers, I mean, really, they're not a good team. We even said that.
Neither team did a very good job. They only had 4 hits, and they got a 2-run shot off Daniel Hudson. It was a cement mixer right over the middle of the plate.
It was a very even matchup for both 2 terrible teams. I'm sorry. I love
and Marcus Stroman was fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes, he was fantastic.
The Jays, I don't know if they set a record or not, but the first 4 guys in the rotation did not allow a run.
Really?
Stroman didn't allow a run. Shoemaker didn't allow a run. And then you go to this game. Aaron Sanchez did not allow a run. And then in the finale, yes, they lost in extra innings, but Trent Thornton, he gave you 5 scoreless innings as well.
Well, it just looks like we need some hitting right now.
Yes,
because the pitching has been performing, and we couldn't say that last year because last year the pitching wasn't doing well at all, but the hitting was.
Runs per game, the Jays are averaging 3 runs a game and 23rd in the league. I know it's only 6 games into the year, but that's... they're actually, wow, look at the offensive categories. Other than home runs having 5 and being middle of the pack, the Jays are in the bottom 20, almost bottom 25, for all the hitting, all the offensive categories, batting average, hits, runs scored, they're 23rd, and then you get OBP, they're 29th. Slugging percentage 25th, OPS 26th, stolen bases, they haven't still got a stolen base, so they're 26th. It's bad. Pitching wise, they're top 10 for almost every category.
And we couldn't have said that last year. Now, we're 4th in our division. The Boston Red Sox are last. Do you see anything? No. Or, they're going to come back, obviously.
I mean, it's just like the Jays, right? Yeah. You saw the rotation go scoreless all that time, right? You saw the Jays go 4 straight games of not allowing a run, the starters. When we didn't expect that. The Red Sox are 1-5.
Yeah. When
they face a team, I mean, I don't even know who they've really faced. I haven't really looked. They've got Oakland and Seattle. And Seattle, how have they been this year? They're 7-1 to start the season. They're having a great start to their year. They win. They win 3 out of 4 against the Red Sox. And then Oakland, how are they doing this year? They're 5-3. They're having a good start to their year, and they've won both games against the Red Sox. But the problem, you look at the Red Sox. against both games against Oakland, they haven't scored a run.
So maybe hitting's drying up for them a little bit. But you can see
it's 2 games, right?
It's 2 games. It's the beginning of the season. You know they're going to be probably first in our division, right? So,
Yep.
I mean, them the Yankees. I just kind of found that funny. So we're on the verge of being swept by Baltimore. I can't believe I just said that. But listen, Baltimore has hitting. They don't have pitching.
They honestly, neither team has they had 10 hits yesterday, but they only scored 2 runs. The first game, yeah. See, the problem with the Jays is they haven't, and Mike Babcock loves saying this, and you know that.
Yeah.
Starting on time.
And
The Jays have not. I think at least in one of I think it was the first Baltimore game, or maybe it was the finale of the Detroit series. I'm not too sure. The Jays had a total of 1 hit.
Right.
In the first 3 innings. In all the games to start the year. 1 hit. You're not going to win many games when you get down like that. You look at the Baltimore game, right? The Jays gave up 5 runs in the first 2 innings. They didn't really have anything going. And they waited till the 7th, 8th, and 9th once the starter was taken out, which I still don't understand why. He had a no-hitter going, and they take him out in the 7th, and then the Jays score 5 runs in the 7th, 8th, and 9th to make it a 6-5 game with a tying run at third base. And that's it. They lose.
Yeah, I mean...
Then yesterday, they were down 2-0. They don't get any really hits, and then they get to the 9th inning, a solo shot from Rowdy Tellez, and they get 2-1. That was it.
And obviously, with the Leafs, like you said, starting on time, and with the Jays now, too, it's the fact that if you're down a couple runs in the first couple innings, it's probably you are going to lose that game because the Jays don't have the firepower to come back from these deficits, and then they just lose the game. So what the Jays have to do, I mean, it's easier said than done, but they have to start on time. They got to get the first couple runs in, and then they just have to play solid defense. Like, that's all they can do. I mean, I sound pretty cliche here, but it's true, because if they're down a couple runs, do they really have the hitting to get the lead back? I don't think they do. I mean, who knows?
They do. It's just the problem is they're not hitting right now. And you hear all over the place on TV and everything, well, that the pitching always is better than the hitting to start the year. And that could be that because the pitchers have already warmed up. They've already thrown full games, right? They're already warmed up and ready to go. As for hitters, you've been facing some minor league guys. You've been facing,
So once the season progresses, then they'll heat up.
Oh, I think because the Jays are over their history don't really have great Aprils, except for last year, which they had a really, really good April, which was kind of weird. But I don't expect them to do great as of right now to start the season. I don't really expect them to do anything crazy.
Well, I just found it crazy how we lost 8 straight home/season openers.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's crazy.
That's ridiculous. But yeah, like you said before, the month of April has not been good other than last year, so we don't expect it to be good. But that makes no excuse. I think the Blue Jays should have at least split the series against the Orioles. I mean, they still have one more game, but it's looking pretty grim. So after the Orioles, what's their next series?
They go to Cleveland.
And that's going to be a tough one.
That's going to be a tough one. Cleveland is a very good team. Yeah, I don't care if they're 2-2 on the season. They have some good pitchers.
In Cleveland, too.
Yeah, in Cleveland. Is it a 3-gamer? Is it a 4-game? It's a 4-game set. And then they're off Monday, and we'll be talking next week. So then they play Boston in Boston. And you know why I hate that? Because they're raising their banner while we're there.
Ugh.
They
get
their rings while we're there.
Well, what's wrong with that? They won their rings, man.
I know. I'm just saying. Why the flip do we have to be there? Why can't they just fire a team like Oakland there? Goddamn.
Well, I guess they'd rather have maybe the Yankees than us, but
yeah,
it's pretty sweet if they get to raise their banners versus a rival. So going to the Braves, Ronald Acuna Jr., just kind of switching over here, got signed to an 8-year deal worth $100 million. Now, if Vladdy's supposed to be like he's supposed to be...
Now, Acuna already played all last year.
I get it. I understand that. But they were both in the same boat in the minors, hit pretty much the same, looked at the same, prospect, was number 1 rated prospect. You can see this similar deal if Vladdy turns out to be like he's projected to be in a year or two. Once he plays a full season or even 85% of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see that perfectly. How are you with this deal? Are you okay?
I mean, look, he's a great player, and he's going to be a great player for a long time. I mean, look, you want to look up your big guys, and like we talked about in podcast prior that that these younger players have their primes at a younger age, so to lock them up for that time, and to have them develop, with the contract signed. And like we talked about, I don't know how old Acuna is. He might be like 20 or 21 years old. I'm not too sure as of right now. I mean, you're going to check that out. He's 21. So he'll be 29 at the end of that deal. His prime, for hockey, yes, his prime is in the 27s to 30 range, right? Yeah. But for baseball, look, you could say his prime is right now. You could say his prime is in a couple of years. They have him signed for an 8-year extension. For the Jays, I see what Ronald Acuna is doing. I see exactly what the Jays are probably going to do with Vladdy. Where the fact is they're going to bring him up in May, let him play this year the way it is, and then next year give him the contract.
Right, because you were mentioning about how you wanted to sign him right away so then you can get a lesser dollar. What the White Sox did to their prospect.
Eloy Jimenez, yeah.
Right. I think that you go with the Ronald Acuna Jr. way and you let him play out for the full year, whatever. And then once his contract's up, then you sign him to the massive deal because he's worth that, right? It's a pretty big risk what the White Sox did to their number one prospect.
Jimenez,
It is, but
and I think this is why the Jays are waiting so long to bring up Vladdy because they want to wait.
So now you would want to do it this way then, rather than the.
It probably is. You get an extra year out of him, right? If you want to think of it that way, instead of signing him before he even plays a game, and then you run into that issue. And then if you sign him
when he's 21, he'll be 29, like Ronald Acuna, and then there you go, right?
It makes sense. Yeah, it really does.
It does. So is there anything else you want to talk about the Jays? Or
Randall Grichuk signing a 5-year, $52 million extension yesterday.
Yeah.
Big deal there. And honestly, I like Grichuk. I just didn't expect the deal to be done. I really did. And the crazy thing that I have to say here, and I think it's gonna be baffling to hear this. Other than Lourdes Gurriel Jr., who has been really struggling to start the year, he reminds me of Norman Powell. He's pressing too much to do too much,
and we know what he can do. He just needs to calm down a little bit.
Yeah,
and yeah.
He'll be fine. I'm not worried about that. But other than him and Randall Grichuk now, they're the only 2 Blue Jays signed after this year.
That's crazy.
The other guys are arbitration eligible. And the other guys are free agents. It's crazy.
You have to look at, they're all young. Our whole team's young, right? So really, why would we give a massive deal to a young guy who's not promising or an old guy who's on the downfall of their career?
That's why they didn't re-sign Donaldson. That's why they didn't re-sign... Well, I wouldn't say that's why they didn't re-sign Edwin, but that's...
No, because we all know that. That's a whole different story.
Yeah.
So... You were a bit shocked about this move, and I was too.
I was shocked, but I'm not mad.
No, me neither. I'm not mad, because you have to lock up some players on your roster. You can't just let them all walk.
And Grichuk's not a bad player.
No, and so that begs the question: Stroman and Sanchez. Now, Randall Grichuk had an up and down year last year.
He had a terrible start, went in the DL. So basically, at the end of May, he really started his season, and he was fantastic. He was fantastic after that.
Yeah.
He was fantastic after that injury. He hit probably about 300 after that, which was incredible.
After that,
and he ended up hitting, 25 home runs or something?
Yeah.
He gives you great defense. He's got some pretty good speed in the field. He's got a good arm. He's not a bad player.
So I look at him, and I compare him to Stroman. Stroman, we know what he can do. We know what Marcus Stroman can do. He's an unbelievable. He's got a lot of energy. But I think with him, he struggled in the past. And do you look up blocking a guy like Marcus Stroman now?
Yes.
Okay, so you think that we should... You've seen enough of Marcus Stroman. You said, yes, we want this guy as a part of our rebuild. We're going to give him something similar, maybe, I don't know, contracts in the MLB.
Because you look at the way... Marcus is, and look, I didn't know what Blue Jays management were okay with signing. We have no idea because we've been seeing guys get traded that are 30, and we're like, man, Stroman's 28. I don't know. But then you see a guy like Randall Grichuk get locked up for a 5-year deal.
That's weird.
He's 27. I don't know. For me personally, if Stroman's having a good year, you lock him up.
Yeah.
You lock him. He wants to be here. He's everything about Toronto. He makes merchandise with Toronto, with the CN Tower on it. He loves being here.
Yeah, so I don't think we've seen enough of him this year.
Agreed.
If it was so what you're saying now is tomorrow, if you locked him up, you would be completely fine with it.
Yes.
See, I wouldn't because I haven't seen enough of him this year. To be honest with you, listen, he's had 2 good games a game?
Yes, 2.
So, I think you lock him up. I want to see him sign, but I don't know because of what happened last year. Sure, he had a good start this year, but there's really no rush Listen, I can see if this was 2 or 3 months into the season and he's
Well, the thing is,
good.
with Stroman and Sanchez, they still have a year of arbitration left.
Right,
So they're
exactly.
not free agent at the end of this year.
Exactly. So I want to see more of Marcus Stroman and Aaron Sanchez to be like, yes, I want this guy on my roster for, I don't know, the next 5 years or so. And I don't think we've seen enough of that. Right? I wouldn't be mad if we signed him tomorrow, but I wouldn't be ecstatic because it's like he's a big question mark at this point.
Oh, Marcus Stroman, he's only 27. So I thought he was 28. He's the same age as Gricic. So
Right. So, I mean, he's in his prime right now.
And Sanchez is only 26.
Right. So Sanchez and Stroman are in their prime. And what you see is what you get from these guys. They're not going to develop more. They're going to...
Well, they are.
Well, they are, but not to the extent of someone that's younger. Because they're at that age where it's like, okay, you pretty much are what you are.
Yeah.
Right? So, I think with Marcus Stroman, like I said, it's a question mark, but if Shapiro and Atkins look at this guy and be like, you know what, I think we got something special and he wants to be here, let's lock him up long term. Well, for 4 or 5 years. Right? Yeah. So I think that would.
And I think if you see a good start to the season from Aaron Sanchez and Marcus Stroman,
same thing as Aaron Sanchez, you lock them up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Lock them up, because what's the hurt in doing that? You need to run out 5 starters every single season. You do not have a single starter. Well, other than we know Baraki and Aaron Sanchez and Stroman are going to be back next year. All without
whether
trading
they be
and stuff like
signed
that
or not signed, they're going to be back next
Right.
year. Yeah.
So those are 3 guys. That's great, but you would love to lock these 2 guys up, front of the line rotation guys. And heck, if some of your younger players, if Ryan Baraki turns into an ace, or some of your minor league guys that are coming up become aces,
and then you have
Stroman and
Sanchez,
they could be your 2-3 guy, right? I mean,
or they could be expandable because you have a couple aces, right? I don't see a problem with that.
Right, exactly. So I mean, I truly believe that. They should re-sign these 2 guys. Now seeing the Randall Gricic contract shows me that this management team is okay with signing 27-year-old guys to long-term extensions. Knowing that's the case,
it's not really the age. I think it's just the production of them.
Randall Gricic, I mean, he only hit 240 something last year, so it's not like he hit 300 or something. Right?
I know. So I guess Atkins and Shapiro are okay with giving the okay or re-signing these guys that are a little bit of a question mark. They're not fully. How am I trying to put it? They're not fully developed into someone. Yes, that's our dude. They're kind of a little bit streaky. Gricic last year, because this was his. So this is his 3rd season or 2nd season with us?
Second season.
2nd season. So last year he was brand new.
Because you look at the first year, I mean, like I don't know what his spring was last year, but anyways, he starts the year, he was awful. Mm-hmm. Anything over 300 is good. But he was below 100. He could not get a hit for his life. Then went down at the end of April, missed almost the entire month of May, and it's like, man, the first 2 months of your Blue Jays career has been horrendous. And then after that, he comes back, revitalizes everything, hits almost 250, hits his 25 home runs or whatnot. He had a great year. He had a great time after the month of May. Yeah. Now, he's had a slow start to the year, as all the Jays offense has, really, except for Rowdy Tellez because he's a stud. But with Randall Gricic, I mean, I like what we have there, and like we talked about with Stroman and Sanchez, I want them back. If they can stay healthy.
Yes, if they can stay healthy.
I think that's what we want to see.
And if they can produce, yes, no problem. But I think now that's not this isn't the right this isn't the right time, to sign those 2 guys, because, I mean, really, we don't know what they're going to be like this season. They had a great 2 games, but really, I think you sign them mid-season or even next year. Because, right?
Either way, I want these guys back. Just because
no matter what, you want these guys back?
Well, okay. If they get injured and have season-ending injury, then maybe not, of course.
Or if they just don't produce. Because we've seen Marcus Stroman. We don't know if he was playing hurt last year, but he wasn't good. Okay, well, he wasn't good. So if they're hurt and they're not performing up to expectations, do you want them back? I don't.
Well, no. If they're hurt and not performing, no.
Or if they're just not performing.
Well, of course. But I'm just saying, what these 2 guys can do. Aaron Sanchez, before these injuries, won a flippin' ERA title.
Yeah.
Marcus Stroman was almost a 20-game winner, and he had an ERA of just over 3. That is insane. Yeah. Those don't grow on trees just like that, and they don't change just like that.
Yeah.
They're damn good pitchers when they're healthy. And you seen to start the year, Stroman's had 2 pretty good starts. He struggled a little bit yesterday, but again, 5 2/3 of only 2-run ball. That's not bad. And then he had a shutout in his first game, and then Aaron Sanchez in his 5 innings in his first game, he shut out the Detroit Tigers. So great first 3 starts when it comes to those guys. But you want to see it get consistent, and you want to see it against the big teams. You want to see it against the Boston or the Yankees and teams like that.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think with these guys, they have to prove their worth, and they have to, like you said, show up against the Yankees, show up against the Red Sox, the Astros, show up against these teams and earn your contract. That's why Grichuk, I was a little shocked that he didn't really earn it per se with the Jays. But last year he was good, but I'm just talking about this season. I'm not mad.
It's only like 4 games that he's played. So
exactly. But with these 2 pitchers, prove your worth, and you'll get rewarded. If you don't prove your worth, you're out of here.
Yeah.
Right?
Honestly.
So I think that's... So breaking down the next couple of games, we face the Indians.
The Orioles
tonight.
Nate Carnes versus Matt Shoemaker. Shoemaker went 7 shutout innings in his debut as a Blue Jay.
Good.
So he was really good in his first game. And then the opener against the Cleveland Indians, Aaron Sanchez versus Trevor Bauer. That is going to be one heck of a pitching matchup there. And as for the Jays, they can't get a hit against anybody.
Viewer of the channel, or of the Twitter account, Trevor Bauer.
Yeah, well, he blocked me. He actually unblocked me. So he actually took the time to unblock me, which is crazy.
So I guess he's thinking about you a little bit.
Yeah, whatever, Trevor Bauer. And then game 2 of the series against Cleveland, you have Trent Thornton versus, I think it's Shane Bieber. Shane Bieber against Trent Thornton.
No relation
and then
to,
in the finale of the series, as of right now, it looks like Sean Reid-Foley versus Carlos Carrasco. Both guys were horrendous in their first games.
Right, so you're looking out of a W against the Orioles, hopefully, and I mean,
I don't know what to expect against Cleveland. Honestly, with this Jays team, I don't know. I never know what I'm going to expect.
1 and 2.
You know, we've talked about when it comes to the Leafs and hockey in general, you never really know what you're going to get. You can face an Arizona team or a really garbage team, and you're a good team, but you find a way to lose, right? You can see that happening sometimes. Yeah. And in baseball, it's kind of the same thing. Maybe not to the extent, right? I mean, there's some teams that are just that much worse than every other team. But today, Shoemaker versus Carnes. I mean, will Shoemaker pitch well again?
Well, that's the beauty of sports. We don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Is there anything else you want to talk about baseball? Bryce Harper torching the Nats.
Good for him.
Yeah, I mean, with the bat flip 2.0.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, great to see for Bryce Harper.
I actually saw that. This is the best start the Phillies have gone off to.
And Bryce Harper.
19-15.
Wow. That's crazy. And Bryce Harper's hitting .429. He's got 3 home runs, 4 runs scored, 5 RBIs in 4 games. And 4 walks as well. He's been fantastic.
All I gotta say about that contract, hopefully you can produce like that in your 10th year of the contract.
4-0 are the Philadelphia Phillies to start the year.
And that's the best start in over 100 years.
That is crazy. That is insane.
So let's switch to hockey now. And
the bottom line, the Leafs have clinched the playoff spot.
Yes.
In the end, that's what matters.
So let's get the positives out of the way. Yeah. So let's get the positives out of the way first. The Toronto Maple Leafs have clinched the 3rd in your Atlantic Division. They're going to be facing the Boston Bruins in the first round. This is a spitting image of it's not looking good for the Leafs going into the playoffs. I mean, we've lost, what was this, in our last 5, I mean, just look it up here. In our last 10, we're 4-4-2. Not the greatest. We got spanked against the Hurricanes, but you said in your video you had a funny feeling about this game that it was going to suck. You're at that game, and listen, the Carolina Hurricanes, they're battling for their playoff lives.
They're 1 point in the playoff spot. 1 point.
Right, because Montreal won.
The difference between Montreal, Columbus, and Carolina, those 3 teams, is 1 point.
Oh, it's coming down to the wire. So let's just say, Carolina is in the first wildcard spot with 95 points. Columbus with 94 points. And the Montreal's tied with Columbus at 94. All 3 teams have 2 games left remaining. So it's wide open. I don't know.
Man, the Leafs game on Saturday in Montreal, whoo, baby.
If they're not already out.
I mean, I don't know what the head. Well, yeah, that's true, but I mean, my goodness.
How did Pittsburgh not clinch yet? Oh, because Carolina could pass them.
Yeah, Carolina and
Columbus could pass them.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But then going to the West here, actually, screw it. With the Leafs, yes. Yeah. Let's just stick with the Leafs first. We've seen on countless occasions that Garrett Sparks is not an NHL goalie.
He was awful last night. My God, 2 of the 3 goals were just atrocious. One, he just wasn't ready, and Williams fires it from behind the net, hits his skate, and goes in. Second goal, as we've talked about before, he's not a very positionally sound goaltender. He lies flat in his face and expects to make every save.
I think in this offseason, you got to send down Sparks to the Marlies
But
if you can.
He'll have to clear waivers.
Okay, well, I think he will. I don't think any team's going to pick him up. And
bring back Curtis McElhinney. He's done at the end of this year.
Or just bring up Hutchinson. I mean, he looked good for the first 3 or 4 games we played. I mean, he hasn't looked that good for the Marlies. But
he's been great for them. He's been fine with the Marlies.
Has he? Because I know he started off slow.
He started off slow, but I think he's been very good lately. And then the Marlies are actually doing really well.
Surprisingly, because I know they were horrendous for a couple months there. And they actually got some solid goaltending, I think, because it was mainly goaltending. I know Jeff Glass was in net a couple of games during the start of the season. He was awful. Castleshoe wasn't good. And Hutchinson a little bit wasn't that good. But I guess they're starting to find their form.
They shut out the Laval Rocket. And Timothy Lilygram with an assist there. There you go.
And then we got the game on Saturday against the Sens. Now that game, I watched that myself, and I was so frustrated because we won out of the 4 games we faced in Ottawa. We lost 3. I think we only won
And that
once.
game, the Leafs dominate, and they lose.
42 shots to 18, and again, Garrett Sparks 3 goals and 18 shots.
22 shots.
Oh, no, saves.
Saves, yes. Goals went in.
No, I said 2 goals on 42 shots. Or 40 shots.
There's 44 shots against.
Oh, okay, so 44 shots.
44 shots to 20. Was it 21? I thought it was 22. 22. Yeah, I know, but one was an empty netter, so I guess.
Okay, well, whatever. So, 44 shots to 21. I mean, really, Garrett Sparks, you're letting in 3 goals. Those goals there, I mean, another goal from Magnus PRV. He's been torching us all season. That's the one thing during the offseason. Because listen, if Freddie gets hurt, God forbid.
Well, I said it in my video. Last year we had McElhinney, and we were like, Freddie gets hurt. And we're like, damn, Freddie's down. This hurts. Oh, wait, we have Curtis McElhinney. He's a stud. He's a vet. He's great. I'm shitting my pants. Excuse my language. I'm shitting my pants with Garrett Sparks in the playoffs. Well, if it happens.
Right. Because didn't McElhinney play a game in the playoffs against Washington for like a period or so?
He might have Freddie might have got pulled or something.
And you see countless times these teams that go for large playoff runs, they always play they're both goalies. They always play 2 of their goalies, right? So, I mean, I'm not confident at all, but hey, who knows? This time last year, we were thinking, yeah, we can beat the Bruins. We got the matchups. This season, we're all thinking we're going to be out in 4. Maybe this is the best thing for us. Maybe the Leafs are going to surprise.
Playoffs are a totally different beast.
Listen, being a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, you got to be optimistic.
Yeah, but a lot of them aren't. A lot of people are just really bad thinkers. The way I say that is that you see the Leafs, we know what they are. You see the Bruins. You see what the past is with the Bruins. You see the way they've done with the Leafs this year. And you think, well, they're done. That's it. It's over. 4 games. Done.
Well, that's what I'm thinking right now.
I'm not thinking 4 games. My God.
No, I'm not thinking 4, but I'm not thinking we're going to win the series.
I didn't say that. I said, I mean, look. The thing about hockey is it is insane. Mm-hmm. You know, you look at last year. You look at the Washington Capitals. They were down 2-0 to Columbus. They lost both games at home. Then they had to go to Columbus for the other 2. I mean, they could have gotten swept, but they flipped in Braden Holtby because they started with Grubauer, and then they won the next 4.
Hockey is a game of bounces, and like you say, I totally agree with you on the Columbus thing, but you can't tell me. Now, what I'm saying with this is this time last year, we thought, because I think we won 3 out of the 4 games last year during the season against the Bruins, we thought going into last year's playoffs that, you know what, it's going to be a tough series, but I have the Leafs pulling this off. Me and you both thought in 7 games. Yeah. This series, I think we're going to be out in either 5 or 6, but maybe this is a good thing. Maybe this is a good thing because we don't have high expectations against the Bruins this year, and the Leafs could surprise.
There's a few things that I look at for the Leafs, and I want to talk about it in a second here, that jump out at me as red flags against the Bruins. Number 1, there's a few good things I look at. Number 1, the Leafs have not really been a bad third period team this year at all. And how have they choked against the Bruins in the last couple playoff runs in the third period? So that could be a positive, but again, it's regular season to playoffs. It's totally different. And first periods are terrible for the Leafs. Yeah. If they can find a way to hang in there through the first period against the Bruins, they might have a chance. And the last thing, my God, this team's got to learn how to break the puck out of their zone.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't help when you don't have Jake Muzzin last night. It doesn't help when you didn't have Andreas Johnson last night. But no, I hear you because Martin Marincin, God bless him, is a scrub.
Yes, he is.
He's played 200 NHL games. Congratulations, but that's 200.
Too many.
Too many, exactly. You look at Jake Gardiner. He hasn't been practicing. He's been practicing with a contact jersey. I think a black jersey.
Great to see.
Black or red jersey. I don't know, but he's playing full contact, so he's going to be. Babcock says he's going to be ready for the playoffs. He says that, but I would love to see him get a game in
Montreal
the regular
or
season.
Something.
Well, even against Tampa on Thursday.
Well, there's no rush, really.
No, there isn't really any rush, and Babcock did say that he's starting Freddie for the
final two
next
games.
Two
That's
games.
what I had a feeling he was going to.
Which is fine because you gave him the night off against the Flyers. He didn't play, and then the game. Did he play against Florida or no?
Yes, he did.
He did. So he didn't play. So the Flyers he didn't play in.
Right. So he played against Florida, which was the what? Was that?
Oh no, he did play.
He did. Okay.
No, he didn't play against Ottawa or Carolina.
But I mean, no, he played there. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he was great in that game.
Yeah, and if you're looking at a healthy because listen, for the past 20 odd games, we haven't seen a healthy Leafs decor at all.
Look, with the Leafs, that we know they're not a great defensive team. We've learned that over the past few years now,
and that's with Gardiner and Dermott.
And you subtract two of your top four defensemen from an already shaky defense core, and then throw in Frederik Andersen not playing the best. Mm-hmm. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Freddie throws up that game against the Islanders in New York. I mean, that was huge. That was a great game for Freddie.
Because I'm not looking at the Leafs without Dermott and Gardiner and with Garrett Sparks and net, because that's not going to happen in the playoffs.
And Jake Muzzin last night.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying on a consistent basis, I'm not looking at the Leafs without Dermott and Gardiner and Garrett Sparks and net.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a healthy team because we know they're going to be healthy. Dermott should be back any time now. He's already back.
Back for like the last few games or so.
Oh, right. Yeah, sorry about that. And then you look at Jake Gardiner potentially coming back either on Thursday against Tampa or on Saturday or for game one. Because if my math's correct, the playoffs officially start, 10th. I think, on the
10th.
When is that? Wednesday or Thursday of next week?
I'm going to go check that out.
Yeah, check that out quickly. But with a healthy Leafs decor, a healthy Freddie Andersen, or
Wednesday, so a week today.
Wow.
Playoffs get going.
In Boston. Is there a chance we can still capture home ice? I don't think so.
No, it's impossible. You're 6 points out. You have 2 games left.
Yeah, so that's fine. But it's going to be another hell of a ride, and I don't know what to expect. I love my Leafs, but I can't see this going past 6.
Well, we've said that every year against the Boston Bruins.
No, I didn't say that against last year. I said it's going to be
all right, well, you go back to 2012, 2013 season. You know, we all expect to get swept because we had not beat Boston.
Two completely different Leafs teams.
Right.
Let's just say that. Completely different Leafs teams.
But the same result from last year and 2012-13, blowing a third period lead. Ideally, it wasn't as bad, but you still blew a third period lead. So, and you look at the Western Conference here and you want to get a touch on that. It is bad.
It's bad, but this is the first time in a long time the East has been more strong than the West.
The Montreal Canadiens at 94 points and Columbus and Carolina at 94 and 95 points are hanging on to the playoff hopes for their dear life. If they were in the Western Conference, first off, they could be in the division for both divisions.
So Dallas has clinched because that's new. I didn't say that yesterday.
Yeah, it was yesterday.
So the final wildcard spot is between the Arizona Coyotes and the. You know what? I think the Avalanche are going to take it, to be honest with you.
Oh, the only way Arizona can do it is if they win both their games and the Avalanche lose their next 2 games.
Both in regulation.
The Avalanche have been great to end the season. They needed that. They've lost 1 regulation game in the last 10 games.
Because if you look at last year, I know St. Louis got in over them by like a point, or it was extremely close. Yeah. So congrats to the Avalanche. I can't see them getting past the first round because they don't have depth at all. But hey, you know what? And let's talk about the Calgary Flames because I don't think we've talked about this team enough on this podcast.
They're a 50-win team.
They're a 50-win team. I don't know how they're going to fare in the playoffs with their goaltending. But let's give props to what they did in the offseason, acquiring Hannafin, Lindholm, getting rid of Dougie Hamilton, and I think Ferland. And listen, I don't know who their GM is over there. Who is it?
I don't know. I mean, whatever he is, he's done some pretty damn good moves, if you ask me.
Yeah, he has. Bill Peters? Oh, no, that's the coach. I don't know. But if you look at who are they going to be facing in the first? Colorado. So, hey, there you go.
As of right now, yeah.
They're going to be either facing Colorado or Arizona. in the first round. And
I think they're cheering for Arizona, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Even if it's Colorado, that's still going to be a pretty damn good series. And hey, you know what? It's shaping up to be a great 2019 playoffs.
One team, do you think a team is worried about is the Winnipeg Jets?
Yeah,
they have not been good this year.
No.
And I understand they're first in their division, but if you look at the Leafs, we're third in our division. We'd be first by 3 points over the Jets. The Winnipeg Jets have lost. They're 5-5 in their last 10. They've lost one. They have not got any consistent goaltending really from Connor Hellebuck, and Patrick Laine has been subpar at best. Because trust me, I have him on fantasy, and he has not been good for me. Absolutely.
Well, when you
horrendous.
get spanked against the Minnesota Wild, who just got eliminated from the playoffs, that wasn't a must-win game. But you got to be going into the playoffs hot.
It is a must-win game. Look how tight the Central is. It's a 2-point gap from first to third. They need points. St. Louis could possibly come first place, for God's sake.
So if they get in the if they get second in the Central Division, they'd be facing St. Louis, or if they stay up there, they'd be facing Dallas. So yeah, I mean that is a must-win game.
And if somehow they slide to third, because it damn well is possible,
they would have to face
They would have to play either St. Louis or Nashville on the road. That's how tight that is over there.
And again, it's a game against the Minnesota Wild. They're not a good team this year. Tons of injuries. They should be on a rebuild, but they can't from those two atrocious contracts. It's a must-win game.
And Mikko Koivu was done for the year.
Matt
Dumba, obviously.
The only good thing I can see about the Jets is that they just got Big Buff back, which is great. They needed him for the playoffs. But they have I think Ehlers is injured. Other than that, I don't think anyone's injured.
Josh Morrissey's still hurt.
Let's go to injuries.
Brandon Tanev day-to-day. Josh Morrissey.
No one that severe.
They're not getting the goaltending that they did last year. Hellebuck was amazing last year.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. But I don't know. It's that massive contract that Hellebuck got signed to.
After 1 year.
You
don't really. I mean, you want. That's why I think when he signed the contract, I was saying on the podcast, I'm like, man, that's a risky deal. I mean, yeah, he had a great year.
You had to have signed him, though.
He had a great playoff run. No, I get it. I understand they did. But, man, that was risky.
Yeah.
Because it was like, what, a 5-6 year deal at like $6 million?
Something like that. Something. I don't know. But with this, you have to realize that they have had to sign him. They had to have signed Hellebuck. And it's just really not panning out now. Now, we know what he can do. We know what Connor Hellebuck can do. And Laurent Brossoit has been pretty good this year for the Jets. But, I mean, yeah, it's hectic, but I don't know. I just know that these playoffs are going to be absolutely crazy. And I hope Montreal makes it. I really do. Because, listen, if they miss out, and it's still going to be a successful year for Montreal, because going into the season, we weren't expecting Montreal to make the playoffs. Are you kidding me? At all. So, yeah, I mean, you have to just take it from there. And listen, if Montreal doesn't get in, either way, if they do or they don't, it's a successful year.
The only reason I'm saying I don't want Montreal to make it, and it's not because I'm just a Leaf fan and I don't like Montreal, I want the Leafs to eliminate them on the last day of the year.
Wouldn't that be something?
Oh, that'd be sweet, wouldn't it? Come on, Saturday night on the big stage.
So we're playing them in Montreal or in Toronto?
In Montreal. Wouldn't that be flipping sweet?
Well, we've performed well against them this year.
We haven't lost to them in the last 2 years.
But you know what? I kind of want them to make it, because the playoffs are always more fun when Montreal does make the playoffs, right? So I think that'd be good if they do. It would be more fun to see Columbus not make it.
Boy, oh boy, that team would be broken.
I would love to see Carolina and Montreal in the 2 final wildcard spots.
That'd be something else, man. I mean, because then Montreal would have to play Tampa.
Actually, didn't Montreal face Tampa
last night?
No,
they faced them last night and they beat them
a couple years ago in the playoffs. I know that was a good series.
I think they might have.
2015.
I think they might have when they went on to that. When they went on that big run with Carey Price being unbelievable as he always is.
Yeah, but hey, last thing about hockey, and then we'll switch to
basketball.
Basketball, yes, Thank you. What do you think about the Paul Byron Mackenzie Weegar situation? Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so basically, this was going back. Paul Byron hit Mackenzie Weegar of the Florida Panthers, and he got a concussion. This was a couple months ago.
Oh, okay.
And then they haven't faced each other since until a couple nights ago. And Weegar decided to, drop the gloves with Paul Byron, the code, if you will. And then Paul Byron ends up getting hurt, getting injured. Byron didn't want to have to fight Weegar, but it happened, and we'll just leave it at that. But I think that's a little stupid because Paul Byron isn't a headhunter.
No, he's not.
He apologized for the hit he did, what was that, like 3 months ago on Weegar? And Weegar's just like, screw it, I'm going to fight you. And then Paul Byron didn't want to fight, and he had to because if he would have turned down or turtled...
He would have got the snot beaten out of him. It would have been rough.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Weegar was not holding back.
No.
So
and Paul Byron is what, 5'9"? I mean, really,
he's not a big guy.
No, he's not a big guy, and he apologized for the hit. And I mean, well, yeah, it's a code, but at the end of the day, I don't like it how. Okay,
in the end, there's no need for that.
No,
really. There's
no need for that. But listen, these hockey men say, "Well, I mean, you can't back down from a fight." You can't back down from a fight at all, and that's complete garbage in my opinion. Listen, if the dude doesn't want to fight, that's like assault. If you don't want to fight somebody, don't fight anybody. I don't care if you're answering from a hit. It was a malicious hit, but Paul Byron didn't mean to hit Mackenzie Weegar in that way, and then it just happened. It happened. He apologized for the incident, and then Weegar, this game, was like, you know what, screw it. I'm gonna fight. Paul Byron over something that happened 3 months ago. He knocked Paul Byron out cold, I think, and then he was calling over the health staff or the whatever it was. It's like, no, that's
you meant to hurt him, bud. Clearly, he didn't want to fight.
Exactly. Now
you got to pay the consequences, and I'm really hoping they're not doing any supplemental discipline, are they?
No, I don't think so. Because I mean, really, you can't really discipline anybody from that. But...
No, but I mean, with the provoked stuff from the time before, I mean, I think there's definitely something there that they could have looked at, but whatever. I mean, it didn't happen. They didn't look at it, and for Paul Byron, I mean, for a Montreal playoff run, that's tough.
Yeah, no, exactly. So let's switch over to the Raptors here, and clinching second place in the Eastern Conference. Hooray! I mean, we all expected it. I kind of wanted first, but that's not going to happen.
Mathematically,
the Milwaukee Bucks are playing, but mathematically we cannot catch the Bucks, and that's fine. You know what?
Is it mathematical? We can't. We have 4 games left. We are 3 games back, so
yeah.
It's technically not mathematical, but
realistically,
the Bucks aren't going to lose 3 straight, and the Raptors aren't going to win all 4. Well, they might win all 4 games the rest of the way, but you can't expect the Bucks to lose all 3.
And tonight we face the Brooklyn Nets, and that could be a potential first-round matchup.
The next
for the
3
Raptors.
games, well, I guess two of the next 3 games could be first-round matchups. You have Brooklyn in Brooklyn tonight. 7:30 tip-off there. And then you have Charlotte in Charlotte. It could have possibly been a first-round matchup, but Charlotte has really dwindled off now since that Hail Mary shot against the Raptors. And then on Sunday you play against Miami.
Right.
A possible first-round matchup.
Exactly.
So
we're looking at, again, you got Orlando sitting outside. It's a tight race between them, Miami, Brooklyn, and Detroit.
It's a game and a half between all 4 teams, sorry.
With 4 games remaining for each one.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, a lot of basketball to play here. It'll probably come down to the final day. It really will.
I think so. Well, it usually does.
Yeah.
Right? It usually does. But we got the West pretty much locked up here. I'm on hockey.
The Western Conference, yeah, it's pretty much math. Well, no, I think it is mathematical. It is mathematical. There it is.
It's done.
Now, as for seeding, it could change. But as of right now, man, the Oklahoma City Thunder have trailed. They're in the 8th seed.
Yeah, I mean, they played good down the. Actually, no, they haven't played good down the stretch.
No, they've been awful.
They're 3-7, but an unbelievable game. 20-20-20 from Westbrook last night.
Crazy.
First person to do it since Wilt Chamberlain, and if you know, that's back in the 70s or 60s, right? So I mean, that's crazy in its own. But if you look at, so let's talk about the Raptors, and then we'll go to the Western Conference and kind of do the playoff matchups there. We got Brooklyn tonight.
Yeah,
and that's a must-win game.
And as of right now, that's the round 1 matchup. As of right now.
Right. It's a must-win game for Brooklyn, and for us, it's a test. Simple as that. It's a test, and I don't want Kawhi to sit that game. I think he should play throughout.
I think he's going to play the rest of the way. Maybe not on the road in Minnesota to end the year. Maybe not in that game.
Yeah.
But I think the next 3, I think you've got
Charlotte.
Yeah, you got
Miami and then Minnesota.
Hold on a second. Okay, Miami on Sunday is the final home game of the season. Okay, I was wondering if
12 p.m.
Yeah, it's an afternoon start.
Oh, well, on Sunday. Yes.
On Sunday, yeah.
Okay, and then you go to Minnesota, kind of not really
a weird way
game.
To end the season.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
on the back-to-back. So, there's nobody plays in the 8th, but people play on the 9th.
And the playoff starts. I know it's later than hockey, but not by much. Probably because the last game of the season is on the Tuesday, so maybe next Monday.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
The bottom line, next time we do the podcast, for both teams, season will be over.
Wow.
And
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
If we do it on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on schedules and all that, it could be playoff time for hockey. And they say it'll be April 10th next week today. So, my goodness, we're right here. We're right here, man.
Yeah, we're right here.
Oh, my.
Well, it's crazy for you, right? Like,
well, I mean, these final, 3-4 games for the Leafs and the final 4 games now for the Raptors, God, they are going to drag on like crazy.
Because we know what team, well, again, for the Leafs, we know what team we're facing. We just want the season to be done with.
Yep.
For the Raptors, we don't know who we're facing yet. But
and with the Raptors beating those teams or those teams beating the Raptors, that could possibly have an implication of who you face.
So more Raptors than Leafs, I think we're looking at right now.
So if you look at who would you rather face, Brooklyn or Detroit? Let's just start with that.
Well, just for the season, I don't want to see Detroit in the playoffs.
Right.
But
okay. So if you want to see Brooklyn,
I want to see Brooklyn, or you can say Miami too. Throw them in there.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying by those 2 teams as of right now, the teams that are in the 6-7 seed.
6-7 Brooklyn.
Because if we beat Brooklyn tonight,
yeah,
they stay in that 7th seed, right? Unless who plays tonight actually? Because Raptors they play against Brooklyn tonight. And Detroit is at home for Indiana. Indiana has fallen so hard, and it's about time, right? We expected this, right? After the Oladipo injury, it took long enough for them to start to fall. But
listen, they're 46 and something,
46 and 32, but they've been terrible lately, and they've dropped down into the 5th seed, so they're going to be on the road against Boston and to start this series. And that is what we didn't want to see.
Well, even if they were home against Boston, I don't like that matchup for Indiana.
Well, Boston's not a good road team in the regular season, so that could possibly carry over into the playoffs. I don't know, but anyways, Detroit's got Indiana at home tonight. So let's say Detroit wins and Brooklyn loses. That'll give the Raptors some breathing room when it comes to Detroit, and it'll be a 1.5 separation between those 2 teams. Yeah. So tonight is a big night for Detroit and Brooklyn, and if you look around the other teams, so Orlando's got the Knicks.
So, I mean, if the Orlando Magic lose against the Knicks, I don't think they're even deserved to make the playoffs.
Agreed. And Miami is at home to take on Boston. So I think didn't they just play Boston? Did Miami?
Right now,
they just played Boston in Boston, home and home.
Right now for the Raptors, we're just waiting on who we play. I mean, I don't want them to take a night off, but at the same time, you don't have to win any of these games. But it's not a must-win game for the Raptors. It's a must-win game for Brooklyn, for Detroit, all those teams. But for the Raptors, you know what? I don't like saying this, but I don't want us to sit back, but we can. We're just waiting right now.
Yeah,
we're just waiting for the team, and I would love to face Miami out of the 3.
Can we talk about how over not the their last game against who they play last? Orlando. Not against this game, but the 3 games prior. We played Chicago, New York, and Chicago. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, Kawhi Leonard sat out all 3, if not 2 of them. Now we hear that it was a personal reason, and his wife had his second child. You know what that means? Canadian kid.
Canadian born, and he's going to be, if he ever becomes an NBA star, born in Toronto. Canadian born, but he's probably going to play for the U.S. team.
Probably.
Because Kawhi wouldn't stand for that.
No,
you're playing for the States. You're playing for Canada.
Well, I don't know, man.
Well, just like Nylander, right? Like he was born in Canada. He was born in Calgary when his father played on the Flames, but he plays for the Swedish team because his dad's Swedish. But yeah, I don't look too. I know that was a podcast question by Mr. Anonymous.
Well, no,
but,
I didn't.
Okay, we're not gonna. Okay, so we're not gonna get into it. That's fine. But that's the reason why he sat for what, 2 games?
I think it was 2 or 3. I don't know.
Because he was having a child, right? So.
Yeah, of course. And that's everyone's gonna say, well, load management. No, he was having a kid. I think he can have a night off. So he didn't play in the game against Chicago. I'm almost guaranteed he didn't play against the Knicks. No, he did not. And in the first game against Chicago at home, did he play that game? Yes, he did. He only played 22 minutes, though.
Only 22 minutes.
Right? And you look at the way he's resting nicely. And then against Orlando, again, I don't think he played a whole lot there because I don't think the starters touched the court in the fourth quarter. Yeah, he didn't even play 30 minutes. He only played 27 minutes in that game. And that's great to see. Now, tonight against Brooklyn, I think you're going to see you're going to see a fully healthy roster. And we've talked about it as the bench hasn't been good this year, right? We talked about the bench mob last year and how good they were.
Well, because the bench mobs graduated to the starting lineup.
Right. Now, with the addition of Kawhi Leonard, with the addition of Marc Gasol, guys like that, people go to the bench. Ibaka and Fred VanVleet. Both guys were fantastic in that game against Orlando.
Yeah.
If you can have that type of scoring off the bench and you throw in a guy like Norman Powell, who's put a great season together so far, that's a dangerous bench.
Yeah.
With the starters doing the way they do.
Exactly, but like we said before, Powell has to ease his way into becoming the normal Powell we know.
For him, it's starting with the defensive end and not forcing shots in the offense.
Because that's what he does, and we don't...
He's been having a great season, though. I do have to give it to Norman Powell. He had 7 points on 3 of 6 shooting in the last game against in Orlando. But he's averaging 8.5 a game. He's shooting 47%. He's shooting 38% from 3, which is pretty damn good. 80% from the line. He's putting a much better season together. He's only averaging 18 minutes a night. All
right. Would you rather face Brooklyn or the Heat? Question for you. Just the way D'Angelo Russell's playing?
I'd say the Heat, probably.
I mean, Dwayne Wade's Dwayne Wade, but
he's
at
up
the end of the
there.
day,
I don't know if he can fire up a 30-point night or something.
In the playoffs?
Yeah, I know, but he
listen, I'm scared of D'Lo. Just the way he's been playing this last month or two.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you there. I do agree with you there. Dwayne Wade's he's averaging 14 tonight, but he's only shooting 43%. He's not the same Dwayne Wade as he once was. Now, if you want to look at rebounding and that being an issue, guys like Bam Adebayo and guys like James Johnson and Hassan Whiteside, who's actually coming off the bench for them, which is ridiculous. Yeah. Those guys bang bodies in the rebounds, and the Raptors are not a great rebounding team. So you run into kind of matchups like Detroit I don't want to see because of their 2 big men, and we can't handle those guys.
But listen, if you face any team, you're bound to have some weaknesses against that team, right? Like, you're bound to have it. It's just the greatness of the weakness is the thing. Listen, if we face Detroit, we know our bigs can't bounce bodies with our bigs.
Right, but then you have a guy like Lowry and Danny Green and Kawhi Leonard who can handle their own as their starters, but will those big guys in the other team be able to grab those rebounds and get the second chance points and not worry about all that kind of stuff, right? So that's a big issue. With Brooklyn, they have a shot blocker in Jared Allen, but other than him, I don't really know what they really, other than D'Angelo Russell. I'm talking about rebounding, though.
No, yeah.
That are problems for the Raptors. Yeah, they have some, like Joe Harris is a freak of nature when it comes to shooting the basketball. I mean, just look at his numbers here. You know, he's averaging 13 a night, but he's shooting 47% from 3. That is insane. I think he leads the league, actually, in 3-point shooting. And he's shooting 50% from the field. He's having a great season.
Again, like we said before, it's going to be a great test in Brooklyn, so that's that. So let's go to the Western Conference here. And who do you think is going to come out as the king of the West?
Golden State.
You think Golden State over Denver?
Yeah.
I mean, I would love Denver to overtake that because
I would too.
When was the last time the Denver Nuggets came first in the West?
When was the last time they were actually half decent? Melo?
Yeah, I'm thinking Melo.
Yeah, that was a long time ago now.
And then before that, I don't even know.
Bottom line, they're second place, and as of right now, they'd be taking on DeMar DeRozan's San Antonio Spurs.
And this is Pop's, 20th season in the playoffs?
And they're still making playoffs. As much as...
I mean, if they're getting bounced out of the first, because I think they will, hey, they're still making it. I mean, I don't know if that's good or
and wouldn't it be an interesting first-round matchup? Oklahoma City versus Golden State. Wouldn't it be a very interesting first-round matchup?
Who are you surprised that... Okay, for both conferences, who are you surprised that didn't make the playoffs? Let's just stay there. I'm on the West. Let's stay on the West first.
I think we can arguably say the Lakers.
Yeah.
Anytime you have a guy like LeBron James, you expect to make the playoffs.
Lakers, Minnesota, surprise. Yes, the departure of Jimmy Butler hurt.
They still have Cat. They still got Wiggins.
And plus last year they were the 8th seed or the 7th seed, I think. So yeah, I mean, I'm quite surprised about that. Really, I mean, the Pelicans, not really. Grizzlies, no. Mavericks, no. Suns, obviously not. And yeah, so the Lakers and the Wolves.
And in the East, I mean, I don't really see. I mean, maybe the Wizards, maybe
the Wizards.
But I mean, they haven't had John Wall for quite some time, and really, they just haven't had any consistency this year.
I remember when my scorching hot take before the season started, the Knicks were making the playoffs.
I mean, my God, they're dead last.
With Cat. Oh yeah, let's talk about that.
What?
Or sorry, not Cat. Kristaps Porzingis is potentially. He was convicted of charges with another female. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh boy.
Convicted. So we don't know if it's true or not, because I don't want to say the word on the podcast.
It was alleged. Convicted means he's
convicted
of the crime.
Sorry, my bad. Alleged of doing something with a female. Listen, I don't know if this is true. This is the same thing that happened with Osuna. He
rape allegations. My goodness.
Well, I didn't want to say it.
2 days ago. Well,
yeah.
It's true. I'm reading it.
All right. But he was alleged, but we've seen with Osuna, he was also alleged, but wasn't convicted of anything. So
if you're the Dallas Mavericks, what do you do?
Listen, until he's guilty, you keep him.
Proven until he's innocent until proven guilty.
Thankfully, this is the off season, and he's not even playing for the Mavericks now. He's hurt.
Yeah.
So this is the off season. I think it's gonna all shape up when the regular season starts for the 2019-2020 season.
Right.
But listen, I don't think there's been many allegations of these things happening. How many of those were actually convicted of? I can't remember the last time. Can you? No. For basketball?
No, I can't.
Yeah, Kobe was actually I think Kobe was convicted of that. Well, he was alleged of doing something similar to what Cat did, or Porzingis did.
Yeah.
So if I'm the Mavericks, you just traded for the dude. He's gonna have an unbelievable career with the Mavericks, so I think you keep him. And it's the off season, right? Like you don't trade somebody you just got for. That was alleged. He wasn't even convicted of rape allegations.
Yeah, I mean, with Kristaps, he's a great basketball player when healthy. And then you add this into the wings. I mean, a little bit of a Patrick Kane situation, or what?
Well,
I mean, I don't know.
There you go. Yeah. So going back to the East, the only
I mean, like I said, Washington is really the only team that I look at as like a maybe. Yeah. But other than that, really nothing.
So switch over to the questions. Actually, no, let's talk about fantasy here. This is the last time we're going to talk about fantasy until it's done. Great season, boys. What can we say? I mean, it looks like I'm going to pull up the W.
Yeah, whatever. If you were losing, you wouldn't want to bring it up. So
you're losing, eh?
No, I'm winning pretty good.
Well,
by like
third place. But hey, you know what? Great season. We're going to do.
Hey, if I was in the final, who has the highest points in this round?
Yeah, but where's your points last round?
Yeah, well,
what?
Calm down.
Oh, exactly.
Kucherov was actually playing well.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but you should listen. You should have performed in round 1, but you didn't.
Oh, just be quiet, all right, man. I really wanted to watch you lose.
but great season, boys. We're gonna do this every year, and maybe even basketball. I've never done basketball fantasy, but you know what? That'd be fun. That'd be great. Definitely hockey. Maybe even basketball. I don't think we can. No, we can't. We can't start baseball.
No, it's already done.
But yeah. So every year we're gonna be. And thank you for everyone that participated. It was great. Hopefully next year we'll see you guys, and we'll make it more fun. We'll maybe even have kind of like a pot thing. Maybe a couple people throwing in some money, right? I don't know. Well, maybe $5 a pop or
we'll see,
or something like that. But yeah, it was definitely a fun season. So let's go into the podcast questions. You already got them loaded up here.
Yep. And KS. Ed, I don't know how to. Okay, anyways, you know who you are, bud. Do you think the trade for Marc Gasol was worth it, considering how old he is? I mean, Valanciunas isn't old and is only getting better. That's with letting go a young guy, DeLon Wright, as well.
Listen, we haven't seen the Marc Gasol yet. We haven't seen the dude we traded for. In the playoffs, it's a whole different story.
Can we talk about Marc Gasol and how the Raptors went from one of the bottom 5 teams in the league when it comes to three-point shooting since that, and now since that trade, they have the best three-point shooting in the league?
I don't think it's how Marc Gasol's performing, because he hasn't been performing amazing,
He's
but
passing the ball.
Okay. He hasn't been performing amazing, but he hasn't been performing terribly. I think people don't like to trade because JV's performing great.
Yeah.
DeLon Wright's performing great.
He's doing okay, DeLon Wright.
He's doing okay, but JV's performing great, and he's actually out for the season.
He's out for the season?
Yeah, he's...
Well, it's only 4 games.
Well, yeah, whatever. But he has some strained ankle or something like that. But I think it's how JV is blossoming under the Memphis Grizzlies rotation and their coaching staff.
But I hate to say it, Raptor fans, I understand why people are getting upset because you look at Marc Gasol's numbers and you look at JV's numbers and you're like, well, this sucks.
Yeah.
But you got to realize, Jonas Valanciunas is not he's not going to take 25 shots a night here in Toronto. He's not. He's just not. With Kyle here, with Kawhi here, with Danny Green here, he's not taking 25 shots a night.
He was a guy we knew what his potential was. Listen, he just didn't get the playing time. It's simple as that. The Raptors team was so deep, he just didn't get the amount of minutes. Sometimes he came off the bench, and he was hurt for the majority of this year too. So I don't. You know what? I said it when day one happened. Yes, you're losing a 26-year-old with a whole bunch of potential. Still hasn't developed yet, that potential, and he will with the team like the Memphis Grizzlies, who's going to give him the playing time. For a dude who way more experienced than JV, and in the playoffs, who would you rather have, JV or Marc Gasol? I would take Marc Gasol any day.
Yeah, I would too. Now, going back to the question, do we think it was worth it? Talk to me at the end of the season. Then we'll be able to answer that question.
Yeah, exactly, because his contract's up next year, not this year, right?
Right.
So we still have one more year with him.
Right.
Yeah, talk to me at the end of the season, or even at the end of next season.
Yep. And then we'll be able to tell you if it's worth the contract.
But for right now,
it's hard to tell. I mean, you look at numbers.
Yeah.
The Raptors are. What have the Raptors been so bad at for so many years? Shooting the three.
Hey, I mean, right now, JV's not playing with their team because he's injured, and Marc Gasol's completely healthy.
There you go. It was worth it. And the Raptors are going to the playoffs with Marc Gasol. And I'm sorry. Look, we've talked about it for years. The Raptors' three-point shooting has been their Achilles heel for so long.
Yeah.
And the fact that since that Marc Gasol trade, they are first in the league in three-point shooting, that's no coincidence.
And listen, I just think it's experience, too.
Of course
think it's
it is.
Experience, right?
Yeah. All right. What do we got here? Roderick, what player hurt the most to see leave the team during the rebuild for the Jays? Oh, so what player hurt the most?
Well, the rebuild's not done yet.
I think as of right now, it's probably Kevin Pillar. Just seeing the emotion and all of everything and what he's done for the city and all that stuff.
You could see him personally. I think it was Josh Donaldson.
Well, I think people wanted him gone.
Well, they did, but if you look at, it was more of a feel-good story with Kevin Pillar.
That's why he's actually what most hurt. What most hurt are we feeling? I guess.
Yeah, I would say Kevin Pillar because he's still a good player. He could still perform. Josh Donaldson, listen, I don't know if Josh Donaldson can still perform in the bigs.
Well, the thing with Kevin Pillar is he's healthy most of the time. He's consistent. He's an amazing guy in the community. He's a great teammate, ball player.
And you haven't heard one bad thing he said about the organization, about the locker room. He's a classy dude. We can't say the same about Troy Tulowitzki. I think Josh Donaldson had a little bit of that too.
He did. Yep.
You can arguably say Jose Bautista a little bit, but I don't think he was as vocal as Troy Tulowitzki was, as Josh Donaldson was. But you know what? I do agree with you. Kevin Pillar, class act guy, and he can still perform in the bigs.
Yeah. Austin, what are your expectations on Smoke stats this year? Will this determine his stay with the Blue Jays? I think the reason why Justin Smoke for right now is still a Blue Jay is to groom Rowdy Tellez. I really believe that's why he's here because they're both left-handed first basemen. Smokey's a dynamite defensive first baseman. Heck, I'd gladly have him learn under Smokey. And they're both lefty bats. Ideally, Justin Smoke's a switch hitter, but I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what the expectations are when it comes to training Justin Smoke. He's 32 years old. You still do need veterans in this league. You do remember that.
But we're on a rebuild, and to get the most out of him, if he's performing, definitely get rid of him.
Yeah, what are the stats going to be? I think he'll hit you about 240, 250. He'll do what he usually does. He'll probably hit you 20, 25 home runs. He'll do that thing. And I don't know. It would not surprise me if he's traded by the deadline, if not earlier. All right, so Evan Stack says, question for the next podcast. I know it's early, but the struggle has been real for Gurriel Jr. Do you think he's benefited from a Randall Grichuk DL experiment just to give him some time? Last year, Grich was killing it. Yeah, we talked about that already. No. I don't think there's a DL stint available. If he's hurt, then yes. But if he's not hurt, it's just him. He's got to get through it.
Yeah.
Really.
I can't see. I don't know if he's hurt.
And it's not like the Jays are going for a playoff spot and they need him to be healthy come playoff run.
I think because he has a slow start, and maybe that's. But I mean, I don't know. I think he's gonna.
He's trying too hard, and he's just gotta go back to
chill out a little bit.
Yeah, he is. All right, Mr. Anonymous. You guys love him. I love him. All right, here we go. Why hasn't Stroman been locked up to a new deal? And Grichuk has. All the Jays have to do is pay Stroman $10 million a year like Severino, and he will accept. I mean, he wants to be in Toronto. He's my favorite player, and he's a beast. I do agree with you in the fact that he wants to be in Toronto. The 10-year deal with like Severino has would not surprise me.
We talked about it before, about how we have to see more from him.
Healthy. Severino's been healthy the last few years.
Yeah.
And he's been their number one in the rotation.
Grichuk has been healthy too, but he just kind of flip-flopping around with being productive or whatnot. But Grichuk has been healthy.
He was not healthy last year to start the year, but
more than Stroman. So
yes.
I think we got to see a bit more from Stroman, and then we can say.
I do agree with you, my man. I mean, he is a beast. I've always loved Marcus Stroman, and I would love to see him play with the Jays his entire career, just because of the way he is. I love the way he plays. But
only time will tell.
Exactly, only time is gonna tell. So another question from him. Why are people upset about the Kevin Pillar trade? It was a good trade. We are rebuilding, and Pillar is terrible. Okay. I am pissed about the Dwight Smith Jr. trade, but he was always good and had potential, but the Jays never gave him a shot. I do miss Dwight Smith Jr., but again, you look at the way the outfield is right now and the talent that's there with McKinney, Hernandez, Grichuk now locked up. And, Dwight Smith Jr. might have been a guy that could, and now Anthony Alford being called up. You look at potential-wise and future-wise, I don't know where Dwight Smith Jr. really fit. He was great. You guys know that I always loved Dwight Smith Jr. on this team, but, I mean, he went to Baltimore, and he's having a chance to actually play there. So good for him. And why are people upset about the Kevin Pillar trade? Well, I mean, because we just talked about it for how everyone loved him.
And plus, Jays fans that, watch a game here, they're casual Jays fans. They just see trading a good player for three, I wouldn't say nobodies, but three lesser players.
You don't know who they are.
Lesser players than Kevin Pillar. Obviously, they're going to be mad. But us Jays fans that watch enough games to see, this guy, I don't know if he's on the decline, but he probably won't re-sign with us. And you get something for a guy that is in his 30s, that can still produce, but you get something back for players like that.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I see a win for the Jays, for both teams.
Last one from Mr. Anonymous here. Thoughts on Kawhi Leonard having a Canadian-born child? Good on him!
Hey, it happens. Listen, he probably got his girlfriend pregnant in San Antonio, or because it takes a couple months for children to be born, right?
Couple months?
Well, how many months?
Dude, it takes a long-ass time.
Well, there you go. So,
but he's been here for what? What? How long has he been here?
He got
February.
When was the trade?
It might have been. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't.
It was born here, though.
Yeah, I know.
That's what matters.
It was born here, but he got his wife pregnant.
Born here. That's what matters.
I know, but he probably said, "All right, we're gonna have a kid in San Antonio. We're gonna do things now, and I'll probably a spur this time when the kid's born."
That'll be the most I've heard Kawhi speak in a long time. Well, anyways, Kaz 3319. What do you think of the Pillar trade? Good or bad? I'm gonna say good when it comes to the actual Jays. Bad emotionally, but
I look at this trade and I kind of see like a Jake Muslin type of deal for a team that. Listen, Kevin Pillar gives you great defense. The Jays.
Sorry, I want to say something.
That's fine.
Kevin Pillar is going home to play in the Bay Area, like in the Californias.
And
he's so upset about leaving Toronto.
Right, but
that tells you how much it means to him.
And I think we pulled off a lot of moves with the Giants. No, didn't we? Or was there another trade? No, okay. But yeah, I mean, it's a great trade for both teams, but only time will tell. Like the Muslin trade, what team came out the best?
Yeah, if the Leafs win the Cup this year,
or next,
or any re-signs and things get great after that. Who knows? Then yeah, great trade for the Leafs. But if Carl Grunstrom, Sean Durzi, and that first round pick get real, or was it a first round pick?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically a second round pick in a sense, but
get really good. Well, Grunstrom, I mean, what? He scored 5 goals already.
4, wasn't it?
I thought
Did
he scored
his
last night.
Oh, did he score his fifth?
I'm pretty sure. I don't know, but 4 or 5 goals in 13 games, only at 21 years of age. He's looking like a great player.
He is.
We had to give up a good player for a left shot defenseman who, or no, he didn't. 4 goals. Okay, whatever. But I think that's going to wrap it up for episode 13 of the Teal Sports Talk podcast. Thank you guys for listening. If you're listening on YouTube, if you're listening on the podcast app. And there was a question about, somebody, I think, DM'd you. If I don't have the podcast app on Apple, how am I going to listen to it? We were planning on, I just thought of this now, about making a SoundCloud or kind of doing something where if you have an Android, you can download the SoundCloud app and you can listen to the podcast there. I was kind of thinking about that. This is the first time I'm talking to you about it. Right. Because if you don't have an iPhone, the only way to watch it or listen to it
is YouTube.
Yep. But I mean, that's a little bit kind of irritating, especially if you're on your phone.
Yeah.
We might do that. I don't know how tough it's gonna be, but we'll talk about it. And we will let you guys know.
Always trying to improve. Always trying to make things better for you guys and easier.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if we can link accounts or whatnot, but so that was just a question. I just kind of wanted to get it out there.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening, and we hope you guys enjoyed Season 2, Episode 13 of the Teal Sports Talk podcast. And next time we'll talk to you, it's playoff time. It is playoff time.
For both teams. Well, somewhat.
The Raptors start on the 13th.
Leafs start on the 10th.
Right, and it'll be the 10th when we do the podcast. So basically, we might even know. Actually, when's the last Raptor game? Did I check that out?
Yeah, it's on the 9th.
The 9th. So there you go. We'll be talking playoffs.
Wow.
We'll be talking round 1 matchups.
So we could be
on Wednesday.
So we could be talking about later, so let's just say that we're having this podcast next Wednesday. That game could be later on in the day against Boston.
Yeah, it could be.
Or on Thursday, so I don't know.
It's going to be quite a fun podcast next week. I can't wait for it. I know you guys are excited, and we're excited. We're jacked up. We hope to get down to the square for some of the playoff games.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Meet some of you guys. It's going to be fun. It's going to
be a lot of fun. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we really do appreciate you guys' support every single week. And I will talk to you guys today, Jays and Raptors, as Jays play at 4 o'clock, and again in the finale against the Orioles. And then, as we talked about earlier, the Raptors are in Brooklyn taking on the Nets. And Evan and I will talk to you guys. It'll be either Wednesday or Thursday next week. We haven't quite decided as of yet. Yep. But thank you guys so much for listening. We'll talk to you guys then.
Peace.